What's going on, everyone? It's Voodoo 51292, and today I'm going to be doing another episode of Voodoo's Thoughts. It's going to be episode 9, and what I'm going to discuss today is the BCS National Championship game between LSU and Alabama from 2012, January 9th of 2012, and I'll be giving you my take on the game as an LSU fan, as a fan who went to every home game this season save one because I had a family member that got married, so I couldn't make one game. And from somebody who went to the national championship game and sat in those stands and watched that game, and I say game loosely, unfold, because it really wasn't much of a game. So to preface it, yes, like I said, I was at the game, and was really excited for the game. Had gone out there early, probably around 1 o'clock. Excuse me. And was, getting into the game, getting into the atmosphere. I mean, New Orleans is an outstanding place to host these championships and Super Bowls and things like that. And with it being my hometown, I was very impressed with the way that they put on the event and put on the game, because they always do a good job. Had a lot of fun before the game, and went into the dome about a couple hours early, and then the actual game happened, and that pretty much sucked every ounce of fun I was having right out of me as an LSU fan. And I'll say this: that was probably the most pathetic, embarrassing, disgraceful performance by an offense ever. I mean, that I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of football games. I've watched a lot of bad football teams. But, I mean, that showing that we put out there was just disgraceful. And I think every LSU fan will agree with me when I say that this is, probably the most embarrassed I've ever been to be a fan of the team. And I'm not, saying I'm not a fan anymore or anything like that, because I am. I'm a diehard LSU fan. I go to school there. It's my university. But when you come out on a national stage like we did, and all of this hype building up, and people talking about the fact that we were possibly the greatest college football team ever because of what we were able to accomplish during the regular season. And you've got this whole rivalry between us and Alabama, and this whole thing between Les Miles and Nick Saban, and all of that, a month of anticipation, and that is the best that we can do. It is just unbelievable. Now, I will say, before I go any further, that defensively, I thought we played outstanding. And, I mean, you can say what you want. You can say, I think Alabama had something like 380 yards of offense. But when you look at the fact that how long our defense was on the field, and the fact that our offense was so pathetic that they couldn't even pick up a first down and give our defense any kind of a break, the fact that we held Alabama to 21, given the way that game went, I thought was unbelievable. And I want to give the defense every bit of credit and respect that I can give them, because they played their hearts out in that game. And I think anybody who watched that game will agree that as pathetic as the offense played, the defense played exceptionally well, holding them to all of those field goal attempts, blocking a field goal, having one of the field goals miss, and only allowing a touchdown at the end of the game there, when basically we had given up and the game was over by that point. I thought was phenomenal. And, I can't give the defense enough credit. But saying that, the offense was just ungodly. And it was ungodly bad. The play calling was probably the worst thing that I've ever seen. And our offensive coordinator should not be back next season. Absolutely not. He should be fired. I think that we ran probably the same 4 or 5 plays the entire game. I think the only difference that we may have had is we switched it to the opposite side of the field. But the only plays we seemed to have were either run straight up the middle, which didn't work, and how they thought that was going to work against Alabama, the number one ranked defense in the country, I have no idea. The option, which never worked, we always went backwards because you can't beat Alabama around the edge because they're just as fast as LSU is, and they should have known that wasn't going to work. The wide receiver bubble screen, which never worked because Alabama is just as fast as LSU, and you're not going to be able to juke out 2 or 3 Alabama defenders on a wide receiver bubble screen because they're too good. And sometimes we would run a little 5-yard slant play or a little 5-yard hook route, and that was about it. That was our entire offense. That's the only thing that we ran, and sometimes we'd flip it to the other side of the field, but that was it. And we not one time tried to stretch their defense. We didn't one time try to throw the ball down the field and back their coverage off, because the entire game, Alabama's defense was completely crowding the line of scrimmage, daring us to throw the football, and we didn't do it, not one time. And I mean, how you have wide receivers on the edge like Reuben Randall, like Odell Beckham Jr., these fast wide receivers who are very good, and how you do not even one time attempt to go downfield is absolutely beyond me, and I don't have any words for it. And then I think, ultimately, the stupidest and most frustrating thing that we had to deal with as fans watching this game was Les Miles's unbelievable decision to leave Jordan Jefferson in the game the entire game and not to put Jared Lee in. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with LSU over the past few years and the quarterback situations we've had, it's been a constant battle between Jordan Jefferson and Jared Lee from 2 or 3 years ago. When Jared Lee started, he was god-awful. He set the SEC record, I believe, for pick sixes in a season. Jordan Jefferson would come in and be okay, but then he would be god-awful because Jordan Jefferson is a god-awful quarterback. Then they'd go back to Lee, and they would just keep flip-flopping, and then it got to a point last year where they would flip-flop in the middle of a game. They'd put one in for one drive, then they'd switch quarterbacks, which no one liked, everyone hated. Then this season, Jordan Jefferson, because he's an idiot, got suspended the first, I believe it was 5 or 6 games of the year for an altercation outside of a bar. So Jared Lee played for us and played pretty well, and obviously won those games. He beat Oregon, he beat West Virginia, and then Jefferson was reinstated. And our first game against Alabama, Jared Lee wasn't playing too well. He threw 2 interceptions. They put Jordan Jefferson in the game. We wound up winning the game, and then we did not see Jared Lee for the rest of the season. After everything he had done for us that year, and no matter how bad Jordan Jefferson played, we didn't see Jared Lee not one more time. And I think that in this game, this championship, everybody got to see really exactly how Jordan Jefferson plays quarterback. He's not a quarterback. He's a running back playing the position of quarterback. He's never been a true quarterback. He's never been a dual threat. He's never been able to throw the ball. And when he completes passes downfield, it's for one of 2 reasons. Either the defense blows the coverage, or one of our wide receivers, because of how fast they are, simply beats their man down the field, and Jefferson just has to throw the ball as far as he can, and our guy will go get it. But Jefferson, this is how he plays quarterback. He has one receiver when they actually call a passing play, which we didn't call very much last night. When he's throwing a pass, he has one receiver that's his hot route, the guy that he'll look at as soon as he snaps the ball. Now, if he looks at that guy and he is not wide open, and I mean wide open, Jefferson panics, he does not look at his other receivers, and he will tuck the ball and try to run. Or he'll throw an interception, or he'll fumble. He has no idea how to play the position of quarterback. He never has. He fumbles snaps, from under center. He can't even take a snap properly. He cannot throw timing routes. He can't throw timing patterns. He can't throw accurately. And he's not even a very good runner. He's not very quick. He's not agile. He cannot make cuts. The only time that he's a threat running is when he gets going in a straight line. Then he's pretty fast. But other than that, he's not a good runner. And his football IQ is probably hovering just above 0. And it's the truth. And for Les Miles to leave him in the game and to be so disrespectful to Jared Lee, who has played his heart out for that university and has had to put up with the BS of that coaching staff, continuously sitting him on the bench, continuously putting Jordan Jefferson in the game when he has no business being in the game. And I'm talking about for seasons. I'm not just talking about last night. I'm talking about last season when Jared Lee would be doing well on a drive. They'd pull him out. There would be situations where Jared Lee would lead the offense all the way down the field into the red zone. They'd pull him out and put Jordan Jefferson in to finish the drive and get the touchdown. They wouldn't let Jared Lee get the touchdown. And then, of course, the ultimate disgrace for him was last night. And, if I had been Jared Lee, I'd have left LSU a long time ago because I wouldn't have put up with the way that they treated him and the way that they handled the whole situation. But he stuck with us and got completely disgraced, and it was unbelievable. It was embarrassing. And I lost my entire respect for the LSU coaching staff last night. The fact that they would leave Jefferson in the game as bad as he was and not even give Jared Lee an opportunity was a disgrace. And Les Miles should be absolutely ashamed of himself. Coach Stud, the offensive coordinator, should be absolutely ashamed of himself. I mean, that was the worst coached, worst play-called game and worst executed game I've ever watched. And I mean, in all of my years watching football, that was the worst. And the sad part is that they had a month to prepare for this game. They had all month of December to prepare for this game. And that is the best they could do. Maybe 4 or 5 different offensive plays. We didn't even get 100 total yards of offense. I believe we got something like 4 or 5 first downs, and most of those came in the fourth quarter. We crossed midfield with just over 7 minutes to go in the game. That's the first time we even took a snap in Alabama territory. And it's just, I guess shell-shocked is the word. I guess that's the only way that you can describe it when you've seen, the way that we've been able to play throughout the season, and the fact that we gave Alabama a hell of a game in Tuscaloosa earlier this year and wound up winning the game. And to see one of the great seasons ever by a college football team marred by this final performance is disappointing, especially for somebody like me who pays my money every year to go watch these games, to be in the stands, paid my money to go to this national championship game and be in the stands, pay the money that they take my money and put it in a contract for guys like Les Miles and Coach Stud, and and to see that performance is just, it's unacceptable and unbelievable. And it's tough to find words really to describe it. And I will give Alabama absolutely all the credit because they came out and they played hard and proved that they absolutely were the better team. And but I will say that I wasn't very impressed with what Alabama was doing either. They weren't doing anything very impressive from an offensive perspective. I mean, they had the ball almost the entire game and couldn't score a touchdown until the last minutes of the fourth quarter. It was difficult to even see if they were playing well defensively or not, considering how awful we were playing on offense. And I think it was a lot of both. I think it was a lot of Alabama playing really good defense, and it was also a lot of LSU playing god-awful offense. And, I don't know how these coaches sleep with themselves at night, knowing, how does Les Miles go to sleep last night, knowing that he didn't take Jordan Jefferson out of that game and put Jared Lee in? How does Coach Stud go to sleep knowing that he just basically beat his head against a brick wall by trying to run the same 4 plays the entire game that don't work against a defense like Alabama? You can't run up the middle on Alabama every down. You can't beat Alabama around the edge with pure speed. Sorry there, my camera ran out of memory. I forgot to empty it before I started this video. But again, you cannot beat Alabama around the edge because they're too fast. You can't run wide receiver bubble screens the whole game because Alabama's too fast. And once they saw that that wasn't working in the first quarter, the game plan should have been changed. The game plan should have changed to trying to go deep on them because Alabama was playing so close to the line. We should have ran play action. We should have tried to throw the ball downfield, stretch their defense out, and it never happened. They just, I can't understand the level of stupidity where you can just keep running the same plays that don't work and expect them to work. That's the definition of insanity, is, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expect different results. Did they think that for some reason Alabama would get fooled, by running the same plays over and over? Did they think for some reason that Alabama would get tired and not be able to? The game plan made no sense, and our playbook is so limited because Jordan Jefferson is such a bad quarterback that our playbook is horrendously limited, and it just showed an extreme lack of faith in him, which is well-founded, to not throw the ball. But if that's the case, if you're going to start Jefferson in the game, you've got to call the plays. You've got to open up the playbook. If you're going to put enough faith in him for him to be your starting quarterback, then you have to let him run the offense. And it wouldn't have ended well, obviously, but you have to do that. And if it's not working, pull Jordan Jefferson out of the game and put in Jared Lee, and then run your offense. Have Jared Lee throw the ball down the field because Jared Lee is a quarterback. He may not be an exceptional quarterback, but he is a quarterback. He has some means of pocket presence. He is able to at least go through progressions and throw the football. Now, he may be not the best at reading coverages or eluding pressure, and he may not be the most accurate quarterback, but he at least is a quarterback. Jordan Jefferson is not and never has been a quarterback. He's been a running back playing the position, and he's made a good throw every now and then, but, that doesn't make him a quarterback. Because he's got arm strength, doesn't make him a QB. We saw that with Jamarcus Russell coming out of LSU when the Raiders drafted him. Sure, the guy could go on his knees and throw the ball 50 yards down the field. Didn't make him a quarterback, and it's the same exact situation with Jordan Jefferson. He can't read coverages. Not even close. He can't go through a progression. He has no pocket presence. His delivery, he takes 10 minutes to go through his delivery. He's late on every single throw. He's not accurate, and he's a bad decision maker. He's not a quarterback. And the fact that LSU has tried and tried and tried through years to try to turn him into a quarterback, it's failed miserably, and we saw the results of that last night on the field. But to not score a point in a national championship game against your biggest rival in the whole country is just abominable. And I think every fan of LSU feels the same way about the game, thinks the same things, thinks we should have pushed the ball downfield, and that these are just common sense things that we as normal people, can see and think that should have happened. And then you have all these coaches who are getting paid millions of dollars, and they don't even have the common sense to recognize the things that Joe Schmo can sitting on his couch watching it on TV. And that's the sad part. That's really the disappointing part, is that these people, we're giving them, we're paying their salary, these ridiculous salaries, and they are not even intelligent enough to see things and make changes that an average Joe can see needs to happen. And it's a shame. It's a disgrace. And I'm still 100% a diehard LSU fan, and I hope that next season with these two quarterbacks leaving and we start a new era in quarterbacks, that we can find an offense, we can find a quarterback who can throw the ball around, because I'm telling you, we got NFL talent at the wide receiver position, but it makes no difference because there's never been a guy, at least at number 9, who can get him the football. And so I would hope that guys like Rueben Randall stay for their senior year in order to improve their stock, improve their NFL stock, because if we have a quarterback next year who can throw the ball, I think guys like Rueben Randall will be able to showcase just how good they are as a wide receiver and probably improve their NFL stock. But I tell you what, it's a crying shame how that game went, and it's frustrating, it's disappointing, and I think that the coaching staff there during this whole offseason is going to have a lot of questions that need to be answered, and deservedly so. They need to be questioned on why the game plan was so bad, and the decision not to pull Jordan Jefferson, and especially after that interception he threw that was probably one of the worst football plays I've ever seen in my entire life. Why he was not pulled after that, when he continuously showed that he was completely inept at the quarterback position, is beyond me. Maybe it's because Les Miles is inept as a head coach in big pressure games. I don't know. But it was a shame. But the defense played an amazing game. I tip my hat to them and coordinator John Chavis, because they had their stuff together and they came out with a good game plan and played extremely well. But, you know, they say defense wins championships, but your offense has got to put up a point. They can't be shut out and expect to win. So that's pretty much all I need to say on it. I think if you watch the game, a lot of it kind of speaks for itself. And it's sad, it's disappointing, but to Alabama, I tip my hat. They played a heck of a game and played well, and simply outplayed us on every level. And, you know, I mean, we get them at home next year in a night game, and we'll have to sit for almost a whole year, all the way until November of this year. I believe that's when we play them. Yeah, to get our revenge on them, and we better be ready, and we better have a lot better game plan in place to go out this time, because that was sad. But alright, that's pretty much it. Those are my thoughts as an LSU fan, and if you're an LSU fan, you feel the same way, or just a general person who watched the game and have any comments to make on the game, feel free to open up conversation. But you know, not a good night to be an LSU fan last night. But you can look toward the future, and hopefully things will be better. But congratulations to Alabama. They played a better game. They took it to us basically almost you know, in our own backyard there in New Orleans, and they deserved it. They deserved to win. They wanted to win more than we did, apparently, and that's what they did. They beat us. So we'll have to chew on this loss for almost a whole year before we get another shot, and hopefully we'll be ready by then. But I'm Voodoo 51292. Thanks for taking the time out. I don't want to reflect on that god-awful game anymore. I want to move on. I want to forget about it and look forward to the future. So those are my thoughts. Hope you enjoyed it from my perspective, and we'll see what happens in the future. But I guess I'll see you guys later with my next episode of Voodoo's Thoughts, whenever that may be.